Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hockey Royalty Live. My name is Russell Morgan. I am your host for now. Our main guy, Randon McMahon. He's running a little late, so I'm getting us started for today. But yeah, today we'll be talking about a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff to talk about. Obviously, the big news with Anze Kopitar announcing it'll be his last year. We have the rookie faceoff to talk about, and we have training camp to talk about. Just getting started. So get in the chat. Let's get going. All righty, guys. So I'm not usually the host. If you're watching on YouTube, you could see me and my buddy here, Joe. Joe, we say it every time, but I think it goes without saying now at this point. But it's funny because like every time one of us has to host, it's like I feel like I'm that Will Ferrell meme from like what do I do with my hands without our guy Randon here hosting? But Joe, how you doing here? How you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. You know, it's like we talked a little bit about it last time with hockey season is like we're starting, right? And here, like you said, we've got rookie face-off, training camp has started. We're starting to get some line combos. We're starting to get extension talk. We're starting to get D pairs. Obviously, the big announcement for Kopitar that came today. So, hockey's here. We're in it, and that's awesome. So it's a fun time of year. So, how's things for you? Obviously, you were there today for camp anyway. So, how's things going?
Yeah, it's last week, kind of like the start of rookie face-off, like the practice and whatnot, was like a nice little. I always think of that as like a nice little prelude to get started with the season. But yeah, I think showing up today and seeing all the big boys there and all the coaches and everybody else that cover the team and seeing all the same familiar faces, it was like kind of like brings you back, and it like feels good to get back in that seat again to start covering the team and then watching Kings hockey. Because I mean, dude, like there's an exhibition game on Sunday, which is crazy to think about. So I it's still kind of fresh that we're still kind of just getting started. I think day one of camp is always kind of like, okay, like an eye opening, like, okay, I'm sure for the players themselves too are thinking the same thing, just kind of getting the legs underneath them. And here we are getting our voices in front of us and trying to get back to this regular programming that we do. So yeah, I'm excited. And we're all excited at Hockey Royalty. I think I can speak for everybody. We got Kyle Garcia, who's doing some great stuff with us. He's going to be covering the rain once again. So we're looking forward to that. We got the show. We're looking to do weekly shows once again. So hopefully the chat's ready to roll. Because who knows? Hopefully we got a fun season ahead of us to cover the team. But I guess what'll make it an important season to watch is the news that we got today that Anze Kopitar, this will be his final season in the NHL. I don't think it's necessarily a big surprise. I think a lot of us kind of saw the writing on the wall. He had kind of been dropping breadcrumbs here and there, especially that one, I think, interview he did with CBS Sports Central where he kind of was like, oh, I don't know. Like, it might be my last year. Who knows? But you can kind of see like he was kind of dropping that hint there. And then once he got the news today, and I think the Kings did a great job with the press conference and him coming out and talking about it, and they're giving his reasons why and whatnot. And I think it was all in all like a kind of a sad but a happy day in a sense, really sentimental day. But yeah, I mean, it's just now it feels like it's going to be a year, not only like a big year to talk about on ice wise, but like almost like a year of reflection to kind of watch who I believe is the greatest LA Kings player of all time.
Yeah, I don't think it's hit yet, at least for me. You're right. It's not necessarily a shock. There's been some hints along the way, but like it just is like, no, he's not. He's still doing it. He's still an effective player. Like no, like this isn't real yet. But to tell you like the impact in a way, like so obviously out here in Western New York, not a ton of Kings fans. I'm one of few. But like I had a buddy of mine text me. He's not remotely a hockey guy at all. But he sent me a text. He goes, Anze Kopitar is retiring. Like to get this text from this guy, it was like, it's bizarre because again, he's not a hockey guy, but he knows Anze Kopitar, Kings, me, and the way we're all kind of, it's all associated. It's just crazy. Like, I don't know. It hasn't hit me yet. He's, to your point, the greatest King of all time. I wholeheartedly agree with that. He has been unreal from day one, and there'll be kind of all season. I'm sure we'll do a full I don't know, memorial or whatever, or honoring him at some point in terms of doing it properly. It's so hard because what he's meant to this organization, his consistency. He's a model NHL player, and by all accounts, citizen. Like it's just, it's hard to put into words, to be honest with you. But hey, one last kick at the can, hopefully for his sake, that they can make a deep run here. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm kind of with you how it hasn't like kicked in yet. I think a little bit has to do with like he's still been probably one of the best, if not the best player on the team the last few years.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be debated, but I mean, it's like when you still see him out there producing the way that he has been, and him's not that it'd say he's still in his prime, but at least he's probably lost a step or two, but he's still out there like playing top 6 minutes, going up against the best competition each night. And it's like, man, like you just think like, man, this guy can just keep going. You just haven't really seen that drastic fall off, I guess you would maybe expected to see for a player of his age, but he just has kept it going. And I think that's why you kind of get to this like realization, like, man, like this might never end. But then now that he makes this official announcement, it just kind of like brings you back and like makes you like reflect on all like like all of his top memories. Like I think the first thing that always comes to mind is like his first ever goal.
Yep.
Like that was like seeing that goal was like, oh my God.
Yep.
Like this is someone special. Like the Kings got somebody here. I mean, streaking down the wing and driving in front of the net of Chris Pronger of all people and scoring that goal against, I mean, who I consider the biggest Kings rival in the Anaheim Ducks. For him to score his first goal that way against that team, I mean, I'll never forget that. Yep. And then not to mention, obviously, all the other great things that he's done for the Kings over the years. It's like, you could like get a little emotional, like thinking about it, like all the stuff he does. It's like, you almost like want to just go up and like say thank you, like to him, like, because it's like, we wouldn't like think about it, like with all the like heartbreak and depression that we had to live through in the early 2000s before he showed up. Like those years were just so painful to watch. And I've said it, like you probably thought the same. It's just like, you're just kind of watching like Alex Frolov or like Lubomir Vyshnovsky. And it's like, oh, that was those fun years, but like you never really won anything. And now all of a sudden this guy named Anze Kopitar from Slovenia shows up out of nowhere. And he's one of the best players in the NHL, who I think is easily one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated player of his generation. I mean, if you think about it, like his name should be up there, and maybe not like as good as these players, but he should be up there considered with the Crosbys and the Ovechkins, and even maybe I guess you could put Bergeron in that conversation too. It's just like there's like so much that he's done, not only for the city and the franchise, but like for hockey in general. And I'm just glad that he kind of made this announcement now, so that way fans can really truly like show their appreciation for him throughout the entire season. I mean, with Dustin Brown's like retirement announcement, that was kind of like, it's like kind of stunning in a sense, because it's like out of nowhere, and you're like, oh man, like this is it. And then they ended up losing to Edmonton, of course, and it sucked the way it went. But like now with Kopitar, who is like, I don't think there's any debate, he's the greatest King of all time. Now that fans will be able to have like a full year to go out and see him play. And it's not even like I said earlier, it's not even like a player you're just seeing play like fourth line minutes, like going out there for like a victory lap. It's just a guy who's going to go out there producing. And like he said today during his press conference, he's going to go out there like they're trying to win. So, I mean, I really appreciate that. And it's just a legend that we're going to be watching for one final year.
Yeah, it's kind of it's almost because this guy can still play. He's got years left. Now,
Exactly.
right? Like, obviously, he may not have years left as a top 6 centerman, but clearly he can play in the league for a while here. Like, you look at what Corey Perry is doing. He's he's playing in the league. He's carving out a role as a fourth liner. Maybe mix in here and there. Can play a little bit of special teams, but I think just when you look at Kopitar, I mean, obviously that's not what he wants to do, which is obviously that's perfectly fine. But man, because Bergeron was the same way. Bergeron could have kept playing too. Two guys. I'm glad you mentioned him because they get mentioned together a lot, and they should. They're two great players. Probably, I mean, Bergeron definitely gets a lot more publicity, probably just being on the East Coast, being in Boston. But Kopitar deserves to be in that conversation and then some. Yeah, I mean, extremely underrated player. It's just a model of consistency, which is so impressive that you don't always see a player to play at his level and be such a play driving force for so many years, and all with the same team. Almost never having a left winger for so many years. It's crazy, but he's awesome. It's that'll officially be like a different era, right?
Yeah.
Like when with Brown and even though Doughty is still with the Kings, this will officially be the end of an era for me. Like Doughty, with Brown's retirement, Quick's trade. Like, I don't know, there's still Kopitar. There's still Kopitar and Doughty. So it still feels like the Kings, if you will. When this is over with Kopitar, like to me, like, so I'm a Yankee fan. It's going to be like when that core four toward the end there started to break apart and Jeter retired. Like, it's different. It's different for me now. Now, maybe it's different because I'm older and I'm not a kid anymore, but it's going to be the same way with Kopitar, I think. And that's not a knock on Doughty. It's just there's like an aura, I feel like, with Kopitar. And he never disappointed. I mean, I've seen him, however many times I've seen him over the years. He had incredible goals in Boston. When I watched him, the one-handed Forsberg shootout goal, I was sitting right behind that. He just had a hat trick in Buffalo last year. So, like, he just delivers. Yeah, I don't know. It hasn't hit yet, but it's going to, I'm sure, as the season goes on.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you. Where it definitely feels like an end of an era, and it's not only because like he's the captain, obviously, so they'll have to eventually find a new captain, whoever that's going to be. Yeah. But yeah, he was always the engine. Like, he like made this team go, even if he wasn't like leading the team in points, which there was only, I think, 1 or 2 seasons he wasn't. So
it wasn't that often.
It wasn't that often. But it was always like him. Like, it was always Anze Kopitar is LA Kings hockey. And yeah, like, no disrespect to Drew Doughty, who I think is like the turbo of the engine, who really just gets everything going too on the back end. But yeah, like, this is going to be the end of an era with no more Brownie, no more Quick, now no more Kopitar. So yeah, it's and I think he said all the right things too. Like, and you said it best too. He's just a model consistency. I mean, just a model in terms of like a family guy, a family man who like had all of his family up there on the press conferences, which was great. And it's just, he doesn't like owe anybody anything like at this point. And for him to bow out at this time, or to hang him up after the season, I think, dude, like, what else can he do at this point? Yeah. I mean, 2-time Selke Award winner, 3-time Lady Byng, Mark Messier Leadership Award, 5-time NHL All-Star, 2-time Stanley Cup champion. I mean, it's there's really nothing more you could say about him. I mean, yeah, first ballot Hall of Famer, absolutely.
Yeah. Hopefully for they put together a good season here.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like hopefully this also gives like a drive to like the team to be like, okay, like they like everybody like understands and appreciates how good of, I'm sure, of a teammate Kopitar is. He's not going to be he's not the raw guy that's going to be like maybe like the Doughty would to get in his teammates' faces and to jump them up. But like, I'm sure this announcement alone is probably going to light a fire in some of his teammates, like Kempe, Byfield, whoever, to kind of say like, okay, like let's give it like our all here. I'm not to say that they wouldn't any other year, but with one final ride with Kopitar, I'm sure that's going to motivate them even more. So yeah, I mean, hats off to Kopitar. Thank you for everything you've done, man. I mean, yeah, like it's just I'm thankful he's given us one final chance to watch him for one more year.
And you know what? Hey, if Randon was here with the tinfoil hat, thankful that he did this before McDavid signed. So now McDavid knows for
there
sure.
We go.
McDavid knows for sure. Just throwing it out there.
Exactly. But just, hey, we gotta drop it now. Hey. Just like drop the little seeds. Maybe it's sprouts. Maybe that's what he was thinking behind, like in the tent. Like, hey, I'm just gonna step away, give you guys a little salary cap space, open up that top center spot, and we see what's going up in 97. So we'll see.
And credit, you know what? Credit McDavid for waiting and not wanting to because he's and not saying he wasn't going to sign and all this stuff, and letting Kopitar make his retirement announcement first. Now he can play out the season, and there's a spot right there and waiting for him. 1C in LA. So we're
not like
ready.
That Clayton Kershaw guy who wanted to steal the spotlight today.
Yeah, what are we doing?
That's all right. No, it's just it's been a wild day in LA, man.
Like, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, so but I thought Kopitar said it best. So he's like, "Hey, it's fine for me. Now I can stay out of the spotlight." But
yeah, perfect. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, crazy day. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit of hockey. Yeah, so this past weekend we had the rookie faceoff. Mm-hmm. The LA Kings played their 2 games in the Golden State rookie faceoff in Irvine. They played Saturday against San Jose, and then they played Sunday against Anaheim. Saturday's game started off good, didn't end so good. They had a 4-0 lead after the end of the first period, and then ended up losing 8-5. So wheels kind of fell off a little bit at the end. But in the second game on Sunday against Anaheim, they ended up winning, I believe, 4-1. So that was a little bit better showing. Not to say that these games necessarily mean anything. I think everybody's kind of looking at more individual performances than they are or would be team performances. But Joe, is there anybody that maybe stood out to you? Any players that you kind of were looking forward to seeing something more of and maybe surprised you from this weekend?
I don't know if there was any surprise. You know what? I'll say this. From a surprise, I don't know a ton about Kenny Connors. This kid's a little player. He's a player. I think he's going to carve out a role in the NHL. I don't know, when exactly. I don't know that he's got if he's going to be, a higher end forward, but I really like watching this kid play. He seems like he's a very, very smart, cerebral type of player. He plays special teams, kind of integral part, involved 5-on-5. Really liked what he brought to the table. Obviously, you want to get a look at the first round pick, Henry Brustevich, and I kind of liked a lot of what I saw. Russ, you can see why they definitely liked him. Good sized kid, skates pretty well, offensive instincts. Really liked what I saw from him. And I'll let you, there's a couple other guys, but I want to mention one before I let you chime in, and then we'll talk about some others. But maybe his game, I don't know if his game will ever translate to the NHL. I don't know yet. Every single time I watch Atu Yamchin play, I'm impressed. Yeah. I'm just impressed, Russ. He's so good with the puck. Subtle plays left and right. I hope this kid makes it, man, because he's a good player. He's fun to watch.
He's a fun player to watch. I mean, I'm with you. You don't really think too much. I mean, he's a 7th round pick a few years ago. Not necessarily a name you're kind of singling out when you're watching some of these games, or even just any game, really. But for whatever reason, he just constantly shows up, and he's a fun player to watch. And the first word that comes to mind whenever I watch Yamson play is cheeky, because he's just out there. Is so slick with everything he does, whether it's even like a back check, whatever, or like trying to lift a stick. It's just cheeky plays that he does. That his stick handling is great. He's very high skilled. He's got size too. So I wonder if like speed might be an issue there. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, it's not like we're like hoping to see him on the Kings this year, but
right.
I mean, he goes into a player that can carve out a role in the rain and then maybe make some noise later on. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, the other two guys you mentioned, I mean, I'm right with you. Like Kenny Connors, I didn't really know much about. He wasn't really a player I was kind of like trying to highlight when I'm watching these games, but he's playing on the top line. I think he was centering the top line with Zemer and Greentree. And was it Greentree? Yeah, it was Greentree, I believe he was playing with.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the word you use best, cerebral. Yeah, he just kind of screams like LA Kings type of player.
For sure.
He's not flashy, but it just felt like whenever like things were going awry, like Kenny Connors would step in and like make a big hit or like make a good defensive play or make that like really like he'd be that secondary assist to like set up a play for Greentree or Bruchevich to set up. So yeah, like I'm with you. Like I thought he was one of the players that really, I guess, surprised out of all the players that maybe I wasn't really looking forward to watching. I think he surprised me the most. But you talked about Henry Bruchevich. For me, he was easily the best player on the ice for the Kings. Like I watched. It's funny. I watched the game with Johnny Utah. Johnny Utah's here in the chat. He says Henry was the best player, and we were thinking the same thing. And I'm sure he's happy about seeing Bruchevich step in for Liam Greentree, drop the gloves with them there. That was good to see. I mean, you don't always want to see a number one defenseman. I don't know if necessarily he's number one defenseman, but you want to see a top defenseman fighting like that all the time. But it was cool to see him step up for his teammate in Greentree there. I thought that was pretty. I didn't necessarily know he had that kind of physicality or was willing to drop him. Johnny Utah was quick to point out that he's very comfortable doing that, so that's cool to see. But yeah, like offensively, his instincts are great. Like he was willing to step into play in the offensive zone as whenever, like, and I felt like he always did it at the right time. And then defensively, like his size, like really stood out. Like cleaning out the front of the net, working along the boards. Those first passes up the ice were always good. His skating looked great. I mean, what was he, like the 30th, 31st overall pick? It's not like necessarily like a high first round pick, but like you can see that they like you could see what the Kings scouting staff was seeing when they selected him with their first round pick. So I'm really excited to kind of watch him as he kind of goes back to London and is now going to be their number one guy with Sam Dickinson, I believe, who was on the Sharks team they were playing against, who was his teammate. I believe he was 6th overall 2 years ago, who's now going to be graduated. So, yeah, I'm excited to watch Bruchevich play a little bit more.
I love that. I go back to the power play goal. I think was it the first goal of the game, and I believe it was Kenny Connors that ended up putting it in. But Bruchevich, he takes it and he skates the neutral zone, enters the zone through the middle, which everybody knows by this point I want attacking through the middle. And then he makes the play, and it's like a little one touch from Connors to, I believe it was to Jansen, who then goes over to Greentree. It was just bing, bing, bing. It was really quick movement, but it starts with a central zone entry from Bruchevich and the little subtle play from Connors, and Connors ends up finishing it. Just well done all around, and I think it really hit a lot of those things. And yeah, he looked great. I was very, very happy about that. I think what you want to see now is, that growth, right? That taking that next step and getting to that kind of next level. And there was another one that I was really interested in watching a bit of. And again, I actually only caught the one game. I could not see the first one, so I saw the second one. But Jared Woolley, we've heard a lot about here, right, over the last year. So he had a really good year.
Big fans of his,
yeah. So I just haven't seen a ton of him. I've seen a lot of clips, and his instincts for me are awesome. Like the way he looks to fill holes and jump up into the play into the offensive zone. He looks very comfortable with the puck. It seems to me like he's got a lot of the brain and the thinking of the game. I don't know, like it looks in part, I don't know if it was the feed, Russ, it was a little jumpy at times when I was watching it, but it does seem like, okay, the pace could be tough the NHL pace could be tough for Wooly. Obviously, right now we're not expecting him to be an NHL player right now. But I would say if there's one thing with Wooly that I'm looking for over the next year to 2 years here is how does he progress there with the speed of the game and with his skating and the speed of the game of that. But he was another one that I was like, okay, I can see where some of the buzz is coming from here, from an offensive instinct standpoint. So that was good to see. I thought George looked really good in net, for what it's worth. I thought he was very good, as advertised. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be positive about. I mean, and there's a couple other guys, like we'll just mention Caleb Lawrence. Obviously, the team values what he's bringing. He wore a letter. So that was good. Our first kind of look at Kirill Kirsanov.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have I don't have a strong opinion. I saw one game and however many minutes it was. Obviously,
I'm sure they felt the same. It was just good to see him play.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to go.
Like you just want to see now, like what he can do.
In
like the AHL, whatnot. I'm sure that's what.
Are we going to talk about Dvorak? Or are we not talking about Dvorak?
Oh man, we could talk about him. I just I don't know. I've said it. I think I've mentioned it a few times. Maybe we talked about it on this show. At the time, we weren't really big fans of the pick. Obviously, it's not going to say we're oh, it's a bust right off the bat.
Right.
And we still probably aren't going to say that, but it's just you want to see some development because it's been a couple years now. He's still a young player, so
sure,
still obviously developing, but just haven't really seen anything to get excited about like we would maybe the Jared Woolley, who was a 6th round pick, or even some other players, I guess, that were maybe later picks, and to think okay, what warranted a 2nd round pick here, because that's a top 50. That's what 54, I think 54 overall 54. Pick. So that's not nothing. Just haven't really seen much. So I mean, last year I think he was really young on the Reign. The Reign, by the way, the Reign are going to be really fun to watch this year.
Yeah,
a lot of young talent. There's not really there's no of those veteran fillers anymore. It's I mean, you have Kenny Connors, who we've talked about. I mean, you're going to have Kirill Kirsanov, Caleb Lawrence, Cohen Zemer. Who am I missing too?
The guy plus the guys that were there. Some of the guys that were there last
year. I mean, Jared Wright, a ton of people. Jared Wright's just fast as hell too. So, I mean, I'm Kirsanov. I was excited to see play. Woolley, the instincts are there. I totally agree with you. You could tell pace could maybe be an issue. Another player I'm excited to watch in the OHL. Hopefully those two kind of carry. I actually was able to talk to Woolley before in one of the practices, and he said they finished their preseason in London and then came down practice, and now we're going to go back to London, and him and Henry are having a great time going back and forth. So that's a cool kind of camaraderie that they're able to carry back and forth. So I'm looking forward to that. But I mean, you mentioned Carter George, it's in these games, you're not necessarily gonna. And we've always talked about goalies here. It's how are we supposed to evaluate a goalie, even in these games? How are you supposed to evaluate a goalie? I mean, one goalie on the first game, Seville, came in and pitches a shutout, and then the next guy, goalie Scholl, gives up 8 goals. Come on, what are you gonna do? He was just hung out to dry in every play. But for Carter George, he makes even the most difficult save look just so easy, and you watch him, and it's funny because I always tried to sit on the end that the Kings were shooting to kind of see obviously offense is what you want to watch, but then I kind of just look down the ice and I see Carter George just kind of standing there, and I could just there's an aura about this guy that he has for whatever reason. Even he's just standing still, I could just tell you just see a star in the making there. I don't know what it is. I don't even know how to personify it. It's just I just watch him play, and I just. Every move that he makes is just so thought out and so well done for whatever reason it is. And I'm not the goalie guru here.
Yeah.
But I just know that there's going to be something good in that player, and I'm so excited. It's so tough because I have fans coming up to me and say who's going to be Sakinski or George? I'm I don't know. I hope it's one of them. That's all I care. But if it's George, great. If it's Kinski, great. But for George, I've loved everything I've seen. I haven't seen Sakinski because obviously he's in college. But with George, like I'm so excited to see what the Kings got in that player because I really think they got a legitimate star there.
Agreed. And real quick, because you just mentioned Slaginski in college, if for anybody that there's a lot of different Kings prospects, young players, Kyle Garcia wrote a piece a week or two ago that kind of listed out here's where everybody's playing, like what Kings are in Europe, what Kings are in the O, what Kings prospects are in the AHL. Go check that out because it's a nice little cheat sheet for me too, frankly, because it's hard to keep track of everybody. Kyle does a great job with that, so I would recommend that because, the one thing that Russ has kind of come to fruition here over the last couple of years is the fact that the Kings prospect pool is pretty barren. Like there's not much here. There's goaltending and there's Green Tree. That's kind of been the talk, right? So that's what you're clinging to. So you're hoping George starts to, he's still young, but you're hoping that you see that out of George. Green Tree, you're hoping that he has another good year and we start to see that progression. And that's why there's so much more excitement now with Bruce Devich in the fold because, again, there's this prospect pool has been like we were all real excited not long ago for Pinelli and for Chromiak. And it's not to say that those guys, Pinelli, like, for example, can't carve out something in the NHL. But to this point, they haven't really found players that have been as impactful as maybe that we've hoped. So it'll be interesting to see because there's always guys that rise that you don't expect to. That happens all the time, right? Perhaps Kenny Connors is one of those mid-round picks that ends up being a player that carves out a lengthy NHL career. Who knows, right? But that's what's going to be fun about the Reign this year is to try to see like, okay, which bunch of this crop takes that step? And listen, like there's going to be call-ups because there's injuries, there's things that happen. There's already an injury with Corey Perry. I don't think that happened, I think, after our show.
Yeah, we'll have to dive into that.
Yeah. But anyway, so with him out, there's things happen. So which of these prospects is going to be knocking on the door to potentially get a spot and get some time in the NHL this year, and that's what's also kind of fun. You hope it's not too many because that means there's some injuries and things like that, but it's the NHL season. It's a long one. This happens. It happens all the time. So we'll see who that is.
Yeah. The Reign are going to be fun to watch just because of the development, not necessarily maybe because they win or lose games, but to see like what players can really stand out because now you have this, like you said, like there's not necessarily like a lot of like, if any, like first round picks on that team to watch from. You have just kind of like a lot of second to late round draft picks that are really trying to carve out a name for themselves. I mean, I didn't really talk about Jack Hughes, who was a second round draft pick, there was a lot of rumors that he wouldn't even be signed, and now he got signed to an AHL deal, who I thought actually is improved a little bit from what I first watched. So I'm curious to see how he does. And not to mention Eric Portillo, who we talked about a couple years ago being like the next guy. Like it's like, and he got hurt last year, and now all of a sudden, like he's being overlooked. But hey, who knows? Like maybe he's healthy. He has like a good year in the AHL, and I mean, we've talked about Darcy Kemper and some of the injuries he's had to go with. Knock on wood. Hopefully he's healthy. But they brought in Anton Forsberg for a reason, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, like you said, like there's injuries all the time, and we'll see what happens in terms of call-ups. Not to mention like the Andre Lees of the world, the Akil Thomases and whatnot. So. Yeah, I think the rookie faceoff was always. I mean, it's not necessarily a lot to take away from him, but I thought it was a good starting point to kind of get a first look at some of these players we really haven't seen before and who are starting really their first full pro season in hockey. So it's pretty exciting. But let's get into now first day of camp. Today was first day, obviously, on ice sessions training camp. I guess we can start off like in terms of like how the teams lined up. Let's just start there.
Yeah.
So they split up into 3 groups. Each group kind of sprinkled in with like the NHL, the guys, I guess, the lines that we'd probably see in pairs. Up front and forwards is pretty much what we kind of all expected, right? I mean, the top 9 was going to be pretty much the same top 9 that it was last year. You have up front. The top line, you have Kuzmenko, Kopitar, Kempe. The second line, Fiala, Byfield, Laferriere. And then the third line, Fogle, Deneau, Moore. And then the fourth line, sorry, I'm trying to get this banner up here. The fourth line of, I think it was Malott, who I think where we all expected Corey Perry to be. Jeff Malott was taking that spot alongside Alex Turcotte and Yoel Armia. And then on the back end, I think this is where maybe a little bit of a surprise. Maybe, I don't know. But on the back end, you had top pair Anderson Doughty, and then the second pair, or I guess we'll just say it's second pair for now. Dumoulin, Brian Dumoulin, Brant Clark, and then Joel Edmondson and Cody Ceci to round out the final, I guess, defensive pair. You have Jacob Overar and Kyle Burrows skating together. But I guess let's just start defensively, because I think maybe that was the biggest kind of question mark coming into camp, considering that we already knew where most of the forwards were going to line up. What do you think about Hiller starting off with Dumoulin and Clark?
I think it's encouraging. Obviously, it's day one, so not to read too much into it, but at least it's on his radar. And if not his preferred / first choice, since he went to it in day one, to get a look at Dumoulin Clark, because I think it has to be that for the Kings to really make some noise here. They're gonna need Brant Clark, and they're gonna need Brant Clark to kind of evolve a bit more. And I think Dumoulin is just so much more of a capable puck on his stick, puck mover, puck transporter than Joel Edmondson is. So that's what I would like to see. And hopefully that works. Because, and listen, Edmondson CC is what it is as a third pair. But I would rather that. I would rather one pair be one pair, and it's, they're not going to, hopefully, in a perfect world, this is what it is. This is the roster. So this is the players they've got. So in a perfect world, your Edmondson CC pair gets less than 10 minutes of 5-on-5 time as a pair. You hope the goaltending's on that day. Darcy's going to see some rubber in those minutes, but I'd rather that than have those two spread out, because then you have the potential of really kind of anchoring or holding down or holding back two pairs. In this case, it's just one. So I would rather that, because, I think Dumoulin's just a better option, just stylistically, to play with Brant Clark, from the way, he's just a better skater than Joel Edmondson. He's a much better with the puck in terms of a puck mover. Obviously, Joel Edmondson's he had some goals last year. He's got the big shot from the point, but that's it. Whereas I think Dumoulin's got at least a little bit more in his game from a puck movement standpoint. So I'm at least encouraged. I'm not doing cartwheels here, but it's at least encouraging that we're not just immediately going with Edmondson Clark, which, boy, oh boy, how many times I got so mad, and I'm going to go on a mini tangent here, Russ, because you triggered me.
Go ahead.
But how many times were we fed by LA Kings media about how Edmondson's here to play with Clark? That's it. What do you mean? This is why we got him. This is why we signed him to 4 years, so we can play with Brant Clark for 4 years. This is what he's here to mentor Clark. He's going to play with Clark. Year 2, he may not play with, and nor should he, by the way. But what an asinine line that we were given, and we're just, oh yeah, well, they got him to play with Clark, so I guess he's got to play with Clark. It's crazy, and we were just fed that as if we're just got to take it. That's crazy. That doesn't make any sense, that you sign somebody for 4 years to play with a guy for 1 year. Get out of here with that. And it was a mistake from the get-go. Anyways, Russ, thank you. But I like the Dumoulin Clark pairing. I think that there's some potential there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we talked a little bit before this, but out of the best that they could do, I think this is it with what they've got. And I think Brian Dumoulin elevates, or we've seen other defensemen play on the left side who maybe aren't necessarily the most fleet of foot, or maybe I would guess you could say below average in terms of skill and talent wise. And then they found themselves elevated. I mean, we were really low on Gavrikov coming over to LA, and that turned out to be a home run. And if you look back at some of the numbers and maybe some micro stats that he was producing in Columbus, they weren't great, but he comes to LA and he's now all of a sudden getting paid 7x7 in New York. So it's just like, it seems like that's the position that really can get defensemen paid.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's worked in the past. And I think with Brian Dumoulin, you could do a lot worse in that spot. And I watch him skate, and there's only so much you can take out of from these scrimmages and drills, but like, that's a guy that can at least keep up with Clark. If Clark's doing some like stuff and maybe like rotating around offensive zone, that's a player that maybe can rotate along with him and say like, okay, I'll skate with you, whether you want to go to the other side of the ice on the blue line, and then I'll walk the other side with you. So I think with Dumoulin alongside him, I think that's a decent start. It's just, we'll see what happens with that third pair, because now all of a sudden that's going to be a pair that, I mean, we know it's happening, Joe. Like, we know what's going to happen.
It's bad. Yeah.
When it's the third period and the Kings are up 2-1, it's going to be Joel Edmondson and Cody Cesar are going to be out there trying to hold it down. So just kind of getting you prepared, so that way we're not right.
Yeah, and then people are going to be scratching their heads like, man, I can't believe the Kings blew that lead. Yeah, well, me neither. Who saw that coming?
We talked to Hiller a little bit after, and I mean, it's like, there's only so much you can take out of the first day of camp, right? I mean, but like, he talked about how, like, maybe I asked him like, hey, what are you kind of envisioning with now all of a sudden you got two more veteran presences, I guess, two more of a veteran presence on the back end. He said maybe more evenly distributed ice time, I guess, is what he wanted to say. So we'll see what that means. I'm not really gonna lean on that too much, because he said stuff like that in the past and hasn't really come to fruition.
Yeah, and Doughty's gonna play. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
So which he should. Like, the problem is, and because he, you know what, like, it probably wouldn't be the worst thing to have a little bit more evenly spread out, at least amongst the top four, just to ease a little bit off of Doughty, you know, and start to give Clark a little bit more responsibility, maybe. But yeah, I mean, the problem is with that is like, there's just not much there, right? There's Doughty, who hopefully bounce back, very bullish on that still, you know, but obviously he's getting a little bit older. You know, I think Mikey Anderson is a sound, solid, you know, defensive defenseman, which is fine. You know, it's just like I've said it many times before, like, the Kings don't have like a 1D. They don't have like a top end defenseman, and I think that hurts. So to Hiller's point about spreading it out, it makes a little sense, because, you know, we shouldn't necessarily just play Doughty because you can play Doughty, like, and you ride him like a horse. Like, just ease him in a little bit, take a couple minutes off to spread it out. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. The problem is if some of those minutes go to Edmondson Ceci, you know, then it becomes a problem. But
back to Doughty, 25 minutes a night.
Right. I'd rather Doughty at 50%. Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, just to kind of talk more about Doughty, we got a chance to talk to him a little bit, and I mean, watching him skate, you could just kind of see like it's like Doughty 100%. And he talks about it after the scrimmage. I'll just kind of read his quote here. He said, "I feel much better. Really focused on getting that ankle better this summer. Did a lot of things to make sure that happened, and I'm moving way better out there." And then he added that he thought today was one of his better first days of camp. He also shared that he had a second procedure on his ankle right after the season ended. So the Doughty that we saw in the playoffs was not the 100% Doughty. It probably wasn't even like a 75% Doughty. I mean, that was probably a Drew Doughty that was just trying to like give it his all out there. And we know how fiery of a competitor he is. He's always going to try to do that.
Yep.
You can make the argument that maybe he came back a little too soon, like with the Four Nations involved and how much he wanted to really play for that team. I mean, I mean, you're not going to fault the guy for wanting to do that, but maybe it kind of hurt him a little bit in terms of like playing for the Kings in more important games. Not more important, but like maybe in the playoff games later on. But it's good, just good to hear, and it was really good to see Drew Doughty at 100% because it really sounds like this is a player who's. I mean, and Jim Hiller talked about it. I don't know if you guys can go back and listen to Hiller's post game, his media availability. He really is looking forward to Drew Doughty's season this year because he thinks it's a guy who's coming in with a big chip on his shoulder and is coming in to prove he's still like the Drew Doughty that we all know and love.
I don't fault Doughty for doing anything last year. I would have done this. Should have an opportunity to play for Team Canada. Don't blame him at all. If there's, other than Kopitar, obviously this being his last season, if there's one guy I am rooting for as hard as anybody, it's Drew Doughty because, toward the end of that season and in playoffs, he was catching a lot of like heat for his play, which listen, he didn't play well. He was very hurt, but
and I think he admitted it himself.
Remember Hiller said something that they were going to have to navigate it. They were going to have to kind of ease him because he wasn't practicing back-to-back days, stuff like that, right? And they were going to have to monitor it, and they were watching it, and so everybody knew he wasn't 100%. I just think some of the criticism he got was a bit unfair because of that. So I'm really hoping that I'm rooting for him to have a huge season because I want him to have that Drew Doughty season again. I don't want like that to be. I don't want his career to kind of start to plateau now and have that level that where he was toward the end of last year, because it's just not fair to the player he is and what he's brought to the team and the organization, because the fact that he even tried to come back and come back and play was impressive in itself. And I give him full marks for that. So I really am hoping for a big season for him because I just want to see him erase the sour taste that was the end of last season.
Yeah, I think, and that's probably the best thing that we can hear from Doughty, to get a player like Drew Doughty, and with how hot-headed he can be, to have a player with that motivation behind him.
Yeah.
That'll be fun to watch. So I'm right with you. I think it's going to be a player that he's an important piece. We need him to be, right?
Listen, this will be really like a lot of people, and I as somebody who is played a little bit in college, coach, like I don't ever mean to, I should say, downplay like the locker room. And like, I know I probably have at times, but like, I don't mean to, because I do believe that it's important, in terms of when you're putting together a winning team. And if there's ever a year where this will hold true, it's this one, because you've got Kopitar in his final season. You've got Doughty coming back from injury. You've got, we'll see what happens with Kempe, potentially a contract there could really create some buzz. As much as the heat that I will have laid on Joel Edmondson and Cody Ceci, by literally every account, they're phenomenal people. And I would never disparage them as they're out by all. I don't know them obviously, but everybody says to a man that they're outstanding people. So they're going to be great fits in the locker room, great fits in the community. So like, if there's ever a team that where the quote unquote off ice, the quote unquote chemistry, the vibes, all that stuff is going to propel more than like the actual on ice product, it's probably the 25-26 LA Kings. We'll see. I don't know what that means, Russ, but like there's a lot there, obviously, that they look to veterans with what they brought in on the back end. So I'm that doesn't make me necessarily more optimistic by any means. But
the vibes are going to win them a playoff series.
Right. I don't believe that, but I'll at least acknowledge that, like, they'll be in really good spirits. They should, but at the end of the day, Russ, like, it's all going to come down to wins and losses. Like, if the team, you said it last week, like if they start a bunch on the road, if they start 2-10 or whatever, like all the good vibes and that stuff goes out the window at that point. So we'll see what happens, but this will, in some ways, I don't want to say put it to the test, but certainly puts a lot of that off ice stuff. Because I can see that being a thing for the Kings that they try to lean on.
And I think that like closeness that the locker room had, the chemistry, is what made, I think, the loss last year like hurt that much more. And you can sense it. Like, and the players talked about it. Coach Hiller talked about it, like how that one like stung so much more because it really felt like there was something special going there. And that not even because of like the on ice talent that they had, but because of the kind of this family kind of environment that they built and this culture that they built in the locker room. It was very strong. And now that you add these players like Cody Ceci and Brian Dumoulin, who, like you said, are just seem like very stand-up guys. I mean, it's funny that Dumoulin was there, and then John Kelly was there. It's kind of duly kind of put out the question, like, how cool is it to have John Kelly around? He's like, oh, that's cool. So it's like you have this like culture now that's like a really strong culture that's been built, which has been great. I think Rob Blake had always talked about trying to build something like that, and I think that he did it. Obviously, I mean, most of it's his doing, so he did a pretty good job building this up. And then another name that we can talk about that's going to be a big part of this new, I guess, culture, off ice culture, is Corey Perry, who's, I mean, Drew Doughty talked about him too today. How he's like this team first guy. He's this big game player that this team desperately needed. And obviously, like, as much as we hated seeing Corey Perry and going up against Corey Perry on the ice, like, there's always been good stuff. I mean, I guess not always been good stuff off the ice about him, but most of the time there's been some good stuff off the ice in terms of like his teammates and stuff like that. And so to have him around is great. But unfortunately, they won't have him around for the next 6 to 8 weeks because he suffered a lower, I think, a leg injury. I don't know. I believe it's his right leg, but a leg injury. He was there today, which is, I guess, maybe points to a little bit to him being a good teammate and kind of showing up for camp and being around the guys. He was watching scrimmage, so that was great to see. But I mean, Joe, it's kind of like, is this like a devastating blow? Does this hurt a little bit? Like, what do you think about, like, I mean, obviously it sucks to see, but like, what do you think about the impact this will make on the team, I guess, going forward?
Well, I mean, listen, one of the things that we talked about was Holland, and we gave him credit for, was solidifying the fourth line. So it puts a dent in that a little bit. I guess if you're going to have that dent, have it now. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, so he won't miss too much of the regular season. But it's a knee surgery, and he's 40 years old. I think it's fair to wonder, how does he recover from that? Like, right? What so it's 6 to 8 weeks. How long after that where he's, what's the ramp up to where he gets back to being like that effective player that, we've envisioned him playing. We're kind of excited about that Armia, Perry, Turcotte type of fourth line. Excited about the potential of Corey Perry seeing some down low power play time. So that leads itself to, if you're doing that, you're probably in that 12 to 13 minute range, potentially, if he's getting some special teams. So like, I just hope that he's able to recover and he's able to ramp up as quick as possible. Like, I don't think the loss of Corey Perry is like going to be detrimental, but like, that was one thing that Hiller and Holland really wanted to solidify, was the fourth line, and it hits that a little bit, and now we'll see who gets to fill that role. But I think that if it's, as long as it's something that doesn't linger, Russ, but when you're talking about a team that they have to win a playoff round, they're going to need a player like that to get through. That's why he's here, and I guess the biggest thing here to put a bow on it is, like, I don't think Corey Perry, they care if Corey Perry is Corey Perry for the first 2-3 months of the season. They need Corey Perry to be Corey Perry in April, May, and June, right? That's that. At the end of the day, that's why he's here. So for me, take as much time as he needs to get back to full health and ramped up.
Yeah, I think the biggest, I guess, problem with this injury, and obviously we hope Corey comes back and can be healthy and whatnot. And I'm glad it wasn't season ending, because at the time of the reports, it just sounded like a lot worse. And obviously we expect like the worst always, but it's just, I guess maybe it's a little bit of good news that it's only 68 weeks, but I was really looking forward to seeing how he would help Alex Turcotte, because I think both, like you had mentioned, like it was to solidify that fourth line, and a lot of that was to help out and kind of elevate the game with Alex Turcotte, who was for most of the season kind of like this Swiss Army knife that was moving up and down, and then toward the end of the season was playing mostly on the fourth line. A lot of it with Trevor Lewis, who we weren't necessarily that fond of playing alongside of him. So it's like now that you were able to give him like these legitimate like pieces that can help him out, not only offensively, but maybe defensively as well, with Yoel Armia and then Corey Perry. Like that would have been, it seemed like it would be a really fun fourth line to kind of watch. And now it's unfortunate that we're not going to be able to watch that the first part of the season. I do think they do have some pretty solid like players to be able that can fill that spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jeff Malott was the guy that started out there today. I think I'm pretty excited to see what Malott can do just as a fourth line guy and see what can happen. I mean, you also have some other younger guys that we saw. Andre Lee last year kind of make his NHL debut and sprinkled in some games here and there. Who knows? Maybe he has a solid training camp and can start on the opening night roster again. Who knows with what Akil Thomas can bring? I think last year was kind of a lost season for him. Maybe he bounces back and has a strong season, or maybe we get surprised and Liam Greentree just lights it up in training camp and then all of a sudden gets a 9-game look. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. It doesn't seem like the Kings are all that fond of making that happen, so we'll see. I'd be surprised if we saw Greentree start there. But, yeah, I was kind of hoping to see Corey Perry kind of help out Alex Turcotte a little bit. But, I mean, it's not really the worst thing in the world, because I'm totally with you. It's just like he's not here to win games in October, November, December. He's here to win games, and we're here to play in game 83 and be that first and be that Corey Perry that we all know and help us out in terms of winning those games and being that big game player to help out in those situations. So luckily, I don't think he's going to be trying to rush himself back for any Olympics this year, like a Drew Doughty last year. So take all the time in the world to get healthy and come back at a fully 100% Corey Perry. It is kind of funny to think about, though, that he's like, it's like, he kind of is like introducing like Corey Perry. Like he kind of would have been lost in the fold a little bit, and on opening night be like, oh, it's like Anze Kopitar or like Corey Perry and then Anze Kopitar. Like, yeah. But now it's going to be like the first game back is going to be like, now all the focus is going to be on Corey Perry. So it is kind of funny to think about that sense. But it is kind of a it kind of sucks a little bit that he won't be able to start the season, but it'll be good that he hopefully comes back healthy toward the end.
I guess maybe it doesn't matter because he had the surgery and it's 6 to 8 weeks on his knee. But like, do we know what it was? Like, are we talking a ligament damage? Was it, some sort of meniscus situation?
Fracture,
I mean, we don't. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm no doctor, to be very clear, but like, does one of those things like so we know the timeline 6 to 8 weeks. If it's a meniscus, if it's one of the CLs, if it's something else, a patella, like I don't know, does that factor into like his ramp up time after that? Like, how long will it take him to get? So that's the only thing that it's the only thing that I wondered and just cautious about is, again, like, it's impressive that he's playing at the level that he plays at 40. And I do just want and hope that, it's not something that lingers. That's all.
Yeah. Right with you there. He's got some bonus money to come back and try to play for it too.
There we go.
Maybe there a little bit that can always help. I guess real quick, Adrian Kempe was asked about his contract negotiations. It seems like it's all status quo there right now. He said he hasn't heard much in the last few days. He said he thinks they'll talk more. Panic meter going up at all, or what are we thinking here?
No, it's not. It's not. I mean, I don't know. I try not to read too much into the player comments because I think a lot of times, like, what are they supposed to say?
Yeah, exactly.
They could be moments away from a deal and they're probably going to play somewhat coy, or, everybody's personality is a little bit different. So if you get the wrong tone or something like that, so I don't know. But no, I can't say my panic meter's going up at all. There's nothing in his comments that are making that happen. So I'm expecting it. You wonder, like, who knows? Like, that could be a future captain with this extension.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, even when we're talking to him, you could kind of just tell, like, the look on his face. He's not even really overly concerned about it. I mean, it's Adrian Kempe. It's kind of hard to get a read off of him anyway.
That's the
But
thing. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, he's saying, like, I guess for a player that can be like as like coy about this kind of situation, he's still saying kind of all the right things. For a player that's not saying anything, I guess it's kind of weird to say, but he's not like being like a Connor McDavid where.
I'm glad you mentioned McDavid, but I feel like so this is where their personalities are way different. McDavid is just, he doesn't like, I don't think he likes the attention. I don't think he likes the camera. He's a little awkward. So I also am probably in the minority here that even I'm not reading too much into what he says because I just don't think he's comfortable. I think if you're uncomfortable in a situation, you don't always, stuff doesn't always come out right. Kempe doesn't smile when he scores. Like, there's no, that's as like his blood pressure doesn't elevate, ever. Or so it seems. So I wouldn't want to play poker with the guy because couldn't tell you if he's close to an 8x10 deal or if he's already told them, sorry guys, I'm out of here. I don't know. It's so I think that there's the differences in at least what I perceive to be their personalities is not knowing them. Is that I think there's a difference there where McDavid is like, he looks visibly uncomfortable when asked these questions and answering these questions, and a lot of questions, not just these types of questions. I sense McDavid doesn't just love it, where Kempe, he's nonchalant about a lot of things, and that's just it's a lot easier for him, I think.
Yeah, Kempe's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. But I feel like at least with McDavid, he's being very like mindful of every word he's using in any of those questions, which is like really. I don't know if did you watch the 32 Thoughts interview that he did?
I did. I've been meaning to, but I haven't.
So like I think I saw a clip of like the main segment that everybody wanted to hear about with his contract, and he was you can just tell he was being very, very cautious with his words and being very mindful about everything he was saying. Like, he talked about, like, he kept mentioning, I think he mentioned on like 3 separate occasions, like, I'm just getting ready for a 25-26. And I'm like, okay, like, all he's thinking about is 25-26. And I'm like, how many players like think about like just I'm just getting ready for 20, 25, 26, 26. Like, most of them are thinking like, oh yeah, I'm just ready for the season. Like, no, he's speaking his words very carefully there. So yeah, I know I'm loving it, knowing that Edmonton Oilers fans are just losing their minds over every day that passes that McDavid hasn't signed. So that's the only kind of laughter I get out of Edmonton lately, because they've obviously beat our asses the last few years, but it is what it is. A couple other things. I think there was like a scrimmage, like it is what it is. But dude, like I think I said this last year, but like I'm just so excited to watch Quentin Byfield. Like, dude, like I watch, and maybe it's specifically just because like we're seeing like him play with Kevin Fiala and Alex Laferriere, and knowing like how well those three played together last year, and now that they're coming into the season with the same obviously the same line, and you just saw them three playing together, and they were just dominating every shift, and it was just like, man, like Fiala was doing like behind the back passes to Byfield for like one timers, and like they were just like cycling around, and there was actually a shift. I tried to post it on Twitter. I got to figure out how to post it because they were out there for a shift with Brian Dumoulin and Brant Clark, and all 5 of them were rotating. I was like, oh, wow. Like, okay, now we're talking here. This is something I can enjoy. So I'm just like, we said it last year, and I think we'll say it again this year, and we'll probably talk about this more in a future episode, but this is like really got to be like the year, like this team is going to go as far as Quentin Byfield goes. And I think maybe this is me just wishful thinking. I think we'll be able to get to see that next step from Quentin Byfield this year.
It has to. I don't know what else to say. Like, because you're right. We did say this same thing last year. Same at training camp. He was a beast throughout camp. He's probably the best player on the team in camp, and just didn't have a good first half of the season. So it can't happen. There's no other, like, the conversation, all the talk and everything. Like, it has to happen from the first game. Like, whether that's fair or not. I mean, for this team to be successful, both in regular season and then playoffs, it has to be in large part because of Quentin Byfield. So,
and he's playing with Kevin Fiala too. So it's like, if he's not being successful, then that means Fiala's probably not succeeding either. And then all of a sudden you lose two of your players that you're looking to produce the most to start of the year. So yeah, there's a lot that's hinging. Who knows what we're going to get out of the Kopitar, Kempe, Kuzmenko line, because I mean, Kuzmenko, this is what he's been. He's always had a hot start anywhere he's gone. His first year has been outstanding, and then the second year just kind of falls to the wayside a little bit. So hopefully you still see that. But I mean, I really think this forward line, like I think Bernstein asked Hiller today, like, who's going to be your number one center? And then Hiller gave like a coy answer, like, oh, like, hopefully every night there's a different number one center.
Yeah.
But it's really got to be Quentin Byfield. Like, Quentin Byfield is going to be your number one center. And if he is going to be that number one center, he's got to produce like one. And like I said, it's probably wishful thinking, but I really think we're going to see that Quentin Byfield that's going to take a next step this year, playing with Kevin Fiala and Alex Laferriere.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's wishful thinking. I mean, obviously it is wishful thinking, but like, I don't know. We've seen too many spurts over each of the last couple of seasons. It's just, you hope it all clicks for 82 at this point. Like, that's where we're at. So, yeah, and by the way, like, I'm still optimistic about it. Like, talk about, I think I have no, like, quote unquote panic meter on Quentin Byfield right now. Like, I still think he's going to have a big year. So I'm not worried about it. It just has to happen.
Well, he's 23 years old now, so he's still young. But now I think these are the ages. I think I believe it was Yannetti that said that once he turns like 23, like, we'll really see him start to hit his full potential. So
yeah,
I think this will be the year that hopefully we see it.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, is there anything else you think we missed you wanted to cover before we head out here?
At least on the Kings side, I don't think so on the Kings end. Like you said, with camp, kind of a lot of stuff that's probably to be expected, at least in terms of combinations and things like that. And we'll see how things kind of progress here. The other thing that you hope for is, when games get started here, that nobody gets hurt. Obviously with Doughty's significant injury last year, already losing Perry this year. So hopefully, health is the most important thing through camp here. I did want to throw just one other thing, not Kings related, but have you been following what's going on with Martin Necas again?
Yes.
Yeah. What is going on here? Is he ever going to sign a long-term contract with anybody?
It seems like Colorado can't sign long-term contracts for anybody.
That too.
McKinnon or McCarr. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. I mean, like, I think we talked about a little bit, like, what, like, if their Kings were really trying to upgrade, like, where are they looking to upgrade? I mean, if you really wanted to, maybe you can just trade away Kuzmenko and upgrade that spot. I mean, as much as we love Kuzi and how good he is, I mean, I think Marty Necas, I think it would be fair to say he's probably a better player than Andre Kuzmenko.
No question.
So I think if you're willing to make that trade, like, you can probably do it. If maybe they have a hard time signing him long term, you give them a player that they can have for 1 year and a fun toy that they can play around with. I don't know, who knows that happens. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely a name I'm going to be keeping my eyes on, because that's a player me and you both have always been very, very high on.
Yeah, and like, when you figure if that's a deal, like, there's other, I'll believe some of the other stuff, when it comes to, like, McDavid and all that, and I don't think Kaprizov, like, I don't see that, but like Necas, I continue to be interested in the player, and until that guy inks long term somewhere, I'm gonna be interested in the player. He just fits a lot of the LA Kings needs. So, early, Randon is not here today, but early tinfoil hat, and as Brandon would say. So keep that one in the back.
Yeah, and we got Ken Holland. I mean, he's not been shy to trade away first-round picks or make big in-season moves. So
yeah.
He's
I mean,
brought
that's
in here
the
to
thing.
win.
Like, he's here to win. Like, he's here to win now. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if, listen, you got Kopitar's last season.
Yep.
Holland's here to win. Like, I'd be shocked if that first round pick is Los Angeles's after the deadline. Like, I obviously we'll see how the season goes. That's going to dictate a lot of it, but he's going to push his chips, and I would imagine, in any way that he sees is going to be important to help the roster as they go forward.
Yeah. Well, we got one quick question before we head out of here. Luke Matthews asks, how many points would Byfield need to put up for a chance on the Canadian Olympic roster? Let's say, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's like 40 games before. Let's just say halfway mark.
Ballpark it. Yeah.
Yeah. You think, is it a point? Does points even matter? Or is it just kind of like an impact kind of thing for a player like Byfield?
Points will matter to make that team. Points are going to matter at some level. I would think for the eyes to be opened enough, I think he's going to be a point a game guy, or close to point a game guy, while providing all the other stuff, right? Like because the thing that made Kopitar a Hall of Famer is that guy. How many point per game seasons did he have? It was the minority. Like it was only a handful that he had. Never had 100-point season. He had 190-point season, I think. So it's not as if, he was so elite everywhere else. Right. So Byfield right now, we don't know yet. Like, is he, what is he as a player? Is he going to be, I don't, it's not fair to say he's going to be like Kopitar and be just that dominant for 200 feet. But like, if he can be somebody that gets 80, 90 points and, is capable defensively, which I think he is, then you're going to start to open some eyes. So my thought is, if we're using 40, 41 games, like if he's got, 35 points and he's been a key play driver and the Kings are having a strong start to the season, yeah, I think then he starts to at least get some buzz. I don't know that he makes the roster, but there's some buzz there. His experience playing on the wing probably helps too, because, Canada's loaded and everybody's a center. So, I mean, he's versatile. So I think, Luke, you got to be close to a point a game to probably get on the radar.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he's going to have to be lighting it up. And we all know, like, points are always like, everybody loves points. So, I mean, the Kings really don't, but everybody else does. So, but yeah, I mean, you look at the competition he's going to have to make that lineup. I mean, I don't know if he even would be a center on that team, because I'm looking at a projection right now and it has Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Braden Point, and Nick Suzuki down the middle, with Sidney Crosby playing on McKinnon's wing. And then you have Sam Bennett playing the fourth line on the wing.
Byfield's not playing center.
That's a tough group to beat.
But a high-end first half.
His name was out there. It was floating around. I remember last year Friedman was I think they did like a segment on it where they did like true or false or something like that, where it's like, oh, like, can Byfield be the guy to make a team like a surprise name? I mean, and now that they're going back to this like regular schedule of like Olympics, World Cup, like I could see them maybe trying to build a little something with some continuity. You have some real solid young names in Celebrini and Jarvis and Nick Suzuki, and Bedard, obviously. So
yeah, I mean, I expect him to be a part of Team Canada at some point in his career. hey, if it's this year, even if his name is starting to get buzzed, like even if he doesn't make it, but he's starting to get buzzed, that means he's doing something right this season, and that's what we want to see. That's what we want to see. But that's a good question by Luke, because I didn't really consider that when it came to Byfield, and like talk about extra motivation, like on top of everything else that QB is, if he needs anything else, who knows he could have a goal this year of making the Canadian Olympic team, and I'll take a motivated Quentin Byfield the first half. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Luke. And actually, it's the question I'll have to ask Quentin himself and see if maybe that's on the back of his mind going into the season, because we all know it's on the back of Drew Doughty's mind. So
yeah, right,
motivation's giving him. So yeah, if it's motivating Quentin Byfield, that'd be great. But I think that'll wrap it up for us here. We appreciate everybody that tuned in. The chat was great, like always. If you could like and subscribe before you head out, that's great. Like I said, we're going to probably do these we'll get back to a weekly schedule with the season now getting going here. But yeah, Joe, appreciate you hopping on here, buddy. Randon was sorry he couldn't make it. He got held up with work, but we'll see Randon back around probably next week. But like always on this podcast, go Kings go.